Well, that was fun, except for the part where it wasn't.
Preseason's over. It's time for the playoffs, baby.
Is there a quarterback battle brewing in Los Angeles?
Hold up. It's the Chargers squad. Everything Los Angeles Chargers every week. Covering all the big hits and game-changing plays from the City of Angels. The way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. Get ready and squad up. It's the Chargers Squad Show, starting now.
Well, hello and welcome. Yeah, D-Wade, he's not Doug Flutie. Welcome to the Locked On Chargers Squad Show on the Locked On Chargers YouTube channel, the place to hang out when every game is done. Brought to you today by Prize Picks. Download the Prize Picks app and use the code Locked On NFL. You get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. And Fox covering sports in LA since 2007 for ESPN LA and NBC Sports Radio. Kenjon Barner in the middle of the screen. 10 years in the league, 3 rings, and a proud Oregon alum. We'll talk about that a little bit too. And Daniel Wade, one half of the Locked On Chargers daily podcast on the Locked On Chargers YouTube channel. This game was not really interesting, except for the part where the Chargers kind of kept hanging around and like they could kind of win this game, you know, and if they just score a touchdown, it would be interesting, but they couldn't really do that. And the offense was flat, and none of that is surprising to us. I think from a positive standpoint, what we can take away from this game, at least for me, is the defense still looked good. You know, a lot of there was a handful of starters in there, guys we know, guys we recognize, and they played well. And you know, the game as a whole started very flat and uninteresting for the Chargers, but they got it back on track. They made it interesting at the end of the first half, and we had ourselves a little bit of a ball game. So yeah, this is interesting. I mean, the end of the season is always interesting for one reason or another, but I think you're right, KB, in saying, I don't know that I've seen a preseason game at the end of the regular season like this,
Jesus.
From the standpoint where it meant something to Denver. Like they needed to win this game to be the 1 seed. But they didn't really play like that. So I'm surprised as to what they were kind of mixed as far as their motivation, I think.
It felt like neither team cared who won this game. Watching it, it felt like the Broncos were fine if they lost. The Chargers were fine if they won. It literally felt like no one cared who won this game. So I can only imagine how it felt as a player who wasn't playing in this game, that was standing on the sideline watching this game. Had to be brutal. But like you said, the positive, it was good to see Dupree out there. Good to see him getting into some action, forcing some pressures, getting in the quarterback's face. The defense showed up, and that was good to see. It was good to see that even in a game that not necessarily mattered, the defense was still able to show up and show out a little bit.
What was
I
your
agree,
take, Daniel?
Yeah, no, I mean, I just looking at the comment. It was preseason for the refs as well. Okay, you know that's how it goes for everybody, players and refs alike. No, I mean, I think for this game, I think the thing is that you're most encouraged by has to be the depth on the defensive side. Obviously, no Derwin James, didn't see Khalil Mack in this game, even if he was dressed. And just to see, hey, we have kind of the formula against this Broncos team. I mean, the only bad thing is you don't get him again next week because, man, it feels like Justin Herbert would have won this game with their starting offense had they decided to go out there and try to win it. But I did think that, I mean, you look at this defensive performance, no offensive touchdowns allowed by this defense. Put in really, really bad positions by this offense without Justin Herbert over and over again, and kept finding a way to, you know, bend but not break, give up only field goals when, you know, you have turnover on downs and bad fumbles inside deep in your own territory. This defense came to play. Without the pick six, honestly, by the Broncos defense, it looks like a much better day for this Chargers defense, but I came away very impressed by the depth and Jesse Minter continuing to just give Bo Nix fits.
Yeah.
Yeah, I felt like Trey Lance. I was once again. I mean, I feel like we say this frequently that we're surprised by the game plan. I was surprised that Trey Lance came out throwing the ball like he did right away. I thought they would try to run the ball a little bit more. I predicted under 10 attempts. I think he finished with 18. I'm sorry. 20 24. Yeah. Wow. He threw it a lot in the last few minutes there because I felt like 18 of 30 or something. But I predicted under 10 completions. He had 20. of 44. So he was slinging it all over the place, and I was surprised by that. I thought they would try to run the ball more, even with Omarion out and Kamani Vidal just trying to get some reps, stretch his legs a little bit, lather. We knew it was going to be Jared Patterson for the most part. So were you guys, again, I don't know how much importance you put on the game plan. Probably not a lot, because as they talked about at the end of the game, they were probably in the back of their mind going, well, we could meet these guys again and we don't want to show them too much. So that was a little surprising, though, to see Trey Lance throwing the ball as much as he did in the beginning of the game and through the entirety of it as well.
You kind of felt like they would have come out and run the ball just to kind of kill the clock, right? Get this game over with a little bit, get out healthy. But they clearly wanted to let Trey go out there and throw the ball around and play quarterback, and I'm fine with that, right? This kid doesn't get any game action all season long unless it's a blowout or Herbert's injured or something like that. So I was fine with him being able to go out there and actually play the game, get a feel for it. There was some throws that were questionable, a lot of overthrows, and times where I thought he held onto the ball too long in the pocket, again, no rhythm, no game action. Really, first time really getting out there and having the entirety of the game belong solely to him. I'm not mad at them allowing the game to go the way that it went.
Yeah, I'm not surprised by that. Are you, Daniel? That he had a lot of overthrows. I mean, the guy was there, but he just was 5 feet past him.
Yeah, and this was a big game for Trey Lance for a number of reasons. I mean, he's a guy that at this point is going to be going year to year on his contract, right? Yeah. So to have a chance to go out there and show that you can be a backup, or even maybe more than that, right? Because let's be honest, if he has a Matt Flynn type of game in this one and he goes out there and balls out against, one of the best, if not the best defenses in the league, then it's like, oh, wow, look at this guy, right? Maybe that is the answer. Maybe he is the long-term backup option for Justin Herbert to have in there. And it didn't go that way, right? And you feel for him, because that was such a tough ask to have him go out there, not just without, the normal offensive line, which if you're telling me the 5 backups are in the game for a team who probably has the worst offensive line in the entire league, what does that tell you, right? And then you're also add into the fact that you don't have Quentin Johnston out there. You don't have Ladd McConkey out there. You do have Keenan Allen out there trying to make some money, which I'm sure
congratulations.
We'll talk about. Yeah, exactly. Congrats, go out. Take us all out, well, I'm sure we'll get into that. But either way, it wasn't just the fact that it was Trey Lance out there. It was Trey Lance against one of the best defenses, really with one hand tied behind his back.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool to see Keenan Allen. When you think about it like that, he had a $250,000 bonus and a $750,000 bonus. Although, how much were we sweating when they threw the replay?
The challenge flag. My gosh. What were we doing?
Totally changed the whole. Oh wow, that did hit the ground. Never mind. Not only is it not a first down, it's not a completion. You're gonna have to catch one more. So
that was first of all, it was absolutely an incomplete pass.
Right. 100%.
It was absolutely an incomplete pass. So I feel like they called him from New York, said, "Listen, he got money on the line. Let him have it. It's his. Give it to him."
That was one of the wildest things ever. I mean, the fact that it was Jim Harbaugh that threw that flag, Kenyon, I'm not surprised it was challenged, but I was like, Jim Harbaugh might take $750,000 out of Keenan Allen's pocket right now.
I would have been pissed. If I'd have been Keenan Allen, I would have went berserk on that field. But yeah, I didn't understand. I really didn't. Even if you want the first, just get on the ball and run a quick play. I didn't. Yeah, it's still somehow, some way, it still worked out, right?
They gave him a first down. That was so crazy, man.
And the catch.
And the catch. Yeah, exactly. Most importantly, the catch. Obviously, he gets 7, so that's nice. But I think, there have been times, and it's not beyond some of the owners in the NFL to kind of, not want some of these players to get that check at the very end of the season, especially if there's big money on the line that's coming out of their pocket. So good on the Chargers. Good on Greg Roman and them, it was very, very abundantly clear, Pete, in this game that they were going to get Keenan Allen that $1 million. And that is for someone signing a very incentive-laden contract like Keenan Allen had to do late in free agency in the offseason. That's pretty cool of them to make sure they got that done.
It's you kind of touched on it, but it is absolutely 1,000% a thing. I've seen it where guys have been close to getting incentives and the offensive coordinator will call down and say, "Hey, sit him down." Or you're running back. I kid you not. I've seen it firsthand to where a guy is a couple yards, a running back is a couple. I won't say no names because I don't want to, put nobody out there. But I've seen a running back be very close to an incentive and get shut down for no reason at all. Just, hey, we're gonna go with the young guy. What do you mean? I got money on the line. So that is absolutely 1000% a thing where owner, coach, whatever. No, we're not doing that.
The call comes in.
The call comes in. Sit him down. He's too close. They're costing me too much money.
I feel like that's a question you got to ask your agent to ask them when you're going through contract negotiations at the beginning. Right. Like, how does this work? Obviously, they probably wouldn't be terribly honest with you about it, but that speaks a lot to the mentality of the human being and the organization, right? Because I've argued for a long time in sports in general. When you're a guy that gets paid big money, your motivation is gone a little bit, right? Because the money is there, guaranteed money. But when you have an incentive-laden contract like this, you're out there trying to play hard all the time because it's going to make you money, and that's good for the team. So, there is a fine line, obviously, but especially, baseball is a big offender of this. And these guys get these, 6, 8, 10-year deals worth, 30-40 million a year, kind of. Well, it's not that much, over 100 million, whatever, big time money. After the first couple of years, they're just like, what leg? Go see Albert Pujols, right? Yeah, he was okay, but he didn't do anything. So
Anthony Rendon, I think, is probably a good one, right? Yeah, win a championship.
All he did was
sail off into the sunset
for the entire time. Yeah, he didn't even play. So I respect a guy like Keenan Allen who gets the incentive-laden contract and goes out there and plays all the time. And you respect the Chargers and Jim Harbaugh for allowing him to get the bonus and letting it come to fruition the way that it should. Chargers fall in the finale 19-3. It's back-to-back losses, but I don't chalk this up as a real loss. Some people in the chat are like, I smell a 3-game losing streak coming up. We're going to talk about the Patriots a little bit after the break. I said it last week. I said it in the middle of the week. If you made me choose between the Pats and the Jags, I like the Pats matchup better. I'll tell you why. From my perspective, I want to hear your guys' take on what you think about how this matchup looks for the Chargers. It's the Locked On Chargers Squad Show on the Locked On Chargers YouTube channel, the place to hang out when every game is done. And don't forget to check out Daniel and David Monday through Friday, an in-depth examination of what's going on in the Chargers universe right here on the Locked On Chargers YouTube channel. All right, today's episode of the Locked On Chargers Squad Show is brought to you by BetterHelp. The new year doesn't require a new you, maybe just a less burdened you. We all carry things that weigh us down, hold us back, and therapy can help. It can help you identify what those things are by offering an unbiased perspective to better understand your relationships, your motivations, and emotions. It gives you tools to be better at dealing with situations. When I dealt with counseling through BetterHelp, the counselor that I talked with, by the way, did it online. And it's just like sitting there in the room with the person. It's not like you're on a phone call. You get a one-to-one experience, which is, really what you want when it comes to therapy, in my opinion. And it's a very useful experience, a useful tool. And the thing that I enjoyed about it the most or appreciated was that they give you tools to use when you get into frustrating situations, whatever they may be. BetterHelp comes in and helps you out, making it easy to get matched online with a qualified therapist who can help you work through what's holding you back. And if you're not happy for whatever reason with the therapist that you've been matched with, you can say, I don't like this as a therapist. I want to switch to a different therapist at any time, and they will take care of you and help you with that. So BetterHelp makes it easy to get matched online with a qualified therapist. Sign up, get 10% off at betterhelp.com/lockedon. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon. Give them a shot. Check it out again. BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon. All right, heading into the playoffs to face the New England Patriots. That means the Chargers finish as the 7 seed. The Pats are the 2 seed. One of the main reasons I like this matchup for the Chargers, and I'll give David credit for this theory, is that the Patriots pass rush is not the Jags pass rush, and the Chargers can use all the help they can get when it comes to a less aggressive pass rush. Not to take anything away from the Pats pass rush. It's good. Obviously, they're a good team, but they're not as good as the Jags, and the Jags are red hot right now. The other thing I like is that their strength of schedule is just bad. I mean, it's terrible. Have they even played a good team all year? They played the Bucks, but that was only a few weeks ago when that was halfway through the season. That was right when the Bucks started to fall apart. Jets, Giants, Bengals. They played the Bills, but lost.
1-1 versus the Bills. Yeah, that Bills was a big win earlier in the season.
All right.
They lost to them a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, Saints, Titans, Browns. They haven't beaten anybody, so I like that aspect. And then thirdly, we don't need to harp on it too much, but their off the field issues right now have to be somewhat of a distraction, right? I mean, it could be a motivator, but to me, it's got to be a distraction, Daniel.
Yeah, I mean, it is a little bit for sure. And I think the thing is like the Chargers told you they were okay with this, right? Like when you decide to not play Justin Herbert in week 18, you decided you were okay with having to play the Patriots because that was the most likely outcome to get, because the Texans, you couldn't. The thing is, if they could have locked up the 5 seed and got the winner of the AFC North and potentially, a rematch with the Steelers, who you beat handily earlier in the season, maybe you play it out differently. But that wouldn't have mattered because the Texans won and did what they had to do. And then you would have been at best the 6th seed, potentially playing the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think the only thing you could kind of go as, okay, maybe you should have tried to get the Broncos again next week and played it all out and got that matchup instead of the Patriots. But yeah, the Patriots have a couple of guys with issues going on. Unless they're going to miss time, and it doesn't seem like that right now, I think it's not going to be that big of a deal. But for that team to have Drake May in his first playoff game, we've seen with Justin Herbert, hey, you can have a great regular season, but it doesn't matter during the playoffs. Yeah, that is something you want to test. That isn't the pass rush that you see with the Broncos or the Texans or the Jaguars for sure. But at the end of the day, like, you were going to have to play a good team, and you were going to have to beat them, right? Like trying to potentially putting Justin Herbert out there to get hurt in a game like this, when you can't for sure gain yourself anything, was always the right call to sit him. But you were going to have to beat a good team, whether that ended up being the Jaguars, whether that ended up being the Patriots, or even potentially the Ravens. Like, they were going to get tested in round 1, and now they have to live with that result and go beat a good team next week. Yeah,
at the end of the day, you got to play everybody. Whoever's going to be in the playoffs, whoever's going to be remaining, you make it out this first round, you still got to play you got to go play the guys that's remaining. So it really didn't matter. But if you had a preference, the New England defense as a whole is not the Jacksonville Jaguars defense, right? This defense has absolutely been on a tear over the tail end, really from the middle on throughout the season since they
beat the Chargers. Pretty much.
Yeah, there's kind of lit a fire up on them. But this defense has been playing out of sight, and we all know how I feel about Jacksonville. And I will not get off
that one.
I'm not getting off the ledge. I'm still right there. I do not believe in them. I don't think they're a good football team, but that's just my personal opinion.
Sure.
And maybe it's because I've had some rough games against them. Maybe I'm just biased in a certain way. But with that being said, I absolutely love the matchup. Just for the simple fact, again, defensively, I think this is a game you throw in the defensive line, but as a whole, as a collective, I think this is a much more favorable matchup for the Chargers offense versus the New England Patriots defense than it would be versus the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah, and what about the fact that Drake May has never been in this position before? I know he's in the conversation for MVP, but you've talked about it, KB. When you get to the playoffs, it is a different animal.
It's a different animal.
It's completely different energy across the board. Not to say you can't handle it. I mean, there are plenty of guys that can, and there is always something to be said for, ignorance is bliss sometimes. But I would much rather have a guy like Justin Herbert who's been there, even though he hasn't been successful. He's been there and he gets it, right? Whereas Drake May is like, so that's another factor to me that's playing in the Chargers' favor.
There's two sides to that coin, right? It's the young guys who don't know where they are, right? That are in the playoffs, that are just playing lights out, playing. They're free as can be, right? Because they don't have an understanding of the pressure that is the playoffs. And Drake May could be that guy to where, hey, I'm just out here playing football. I'm out here slinging a rock. I'm having fun. But you're not facing just any defense. This Charger defense can absolutely light you up. They can be as physical as they want to be. They can be one of the most physical defenses in the entire league when they decide to flip that switch. And I 100% believe that come next week, playoff time, they will flip that switch. And I think it'll be a rude awakening for Drake.
I don't know if CZ is trying to talk crap here, but he says Herbert going down in the second week of the playoffs. All right.
Okay, playoff win. Okay,
playoff win. We'll take it.
I mean, and that's like what this all comes down to, right? Like the thing is, the Chargers overachieved. Period. With the tackles that they lost and how little people even expected them with the tackles before the season, because it was a cupcake schedule in 2024. They had to play some tough teams, and a lot of them in 2025, and most people didn't have them getting 10 wins. Not only did they do that, they got to 11 wins, missing Rashawn Slater and Joe Alt for most of the season. So like, they are a victim of their own, overachieving, because the thing is nobody's going to care when the narrative, if Justin Herbert wins next week, is that he can't win a playoff game. Nobody cares that Joe Alt and Rashawn Slater aren't playing. But the problem is with that is you still have to make it. This is the first time since 2009 that the Chargers have made it in back-to-back season. It has to be established that with Jim Harbaugh as the head coach and Justin Herbert as the quarterback, that you're going to make the playoffs every year and just give yourself a chance in the dance. Justin Herbert's never done that. So no matter what happens, like, the Chargers have overcome more than I thought that they could this year, right? But at the same time, with Justin Herbert quarterback, you're definitely going to give yourself a chance, and that's all you can ask for, especially with the injuries that they've had to deal with.
Right. And I'm not trying to take anything away from the Pats. People are saying it's
going to be tough, man.
Mr. Yates is clearly a Pats fan, which is fine. They beat who they played. I get it. But they had as you said, a cupcake schedule, because
should they have wanted the Jaguars that we saw beat the Chargers 35-6? Like, is that like what? Like, is that supposed to be what they should have wanted? Like, I mean, I would rather take my chances against a team you haven't seen than go back up against a team that obviously gives you some problems, right? And an offensive coordinator that 2 years in a row, Liam Cohen as the head coach of the Jaguars and as the Buccaneers offensive coordinator in 2024, has had the answers against Jesse Minter's defense. The Patriots are going to be a tough team. This is a better matchup for them than the Jaguars was.
Yeah. And going in with a 2-game losing streak, to me is not a problem. They got over the Houston loss is in the rearview mirror long time ago. That they've turned the page from that. Harbaugh called out all the problems Tuesday, right? And he was dead on. So they were working on it all week going into this game and addressing the issues. And to think going into that next game, after basically a week of rest for the starters, that those problems haven't been cured or at least addressed would be foolish. And I think that that's good for the Chargers, that those problems have been hanging around in the back of their head for a couple of weeks. It's not a question of losing momentum, because as David pointed out, KB pointed it out last week, there is no momentum coming out of that Houston game that you would want to keep going.
No.
So the fact is that they got a week of reset. And I think that's perfect for them going in. It's a unique situation, to be sure, as a 7th seed, to go in with kind of like, hey, wipe the slate clean. We're going in fresh and healthy as can be at this point of the season. And I feel like, you have as many of the chips in your hand as possible, really. Because I just don't think, KB, when you make those kind of mistakes that they did against Houston, to go in and make them again in a playoff game, the chances are pretty slim to none that they're going to miss field goals and be uninspired on offense. And the things they did wrong against Houston, to me, they're not going to do them wrong again in a playoff game.
You can't. Otherwise, it's going to get you beat. If you come out and perform half of what you perform versus Houston, you're going home. Your season is ending early. So to your point about having this time, right? As fans, we got to understand the importance of hitting that mental refresh. And having the opportunity to do it right before you make a playoff run is absolutely crucial, because you're not out there thinking about this game right now that you played today versus the Broncos. That doesn't really matter. You're not out there putting your body at risk. You're able to physically recover and mentally recover and get yourself mentally prepared. You treat this like a bye week, right? You have 2 weeks to prepare for whoever you're playing. And so if I was mentor last week with my starters, understanding that majority of them are not playing, even though I'm prepping for the Denver Broncos, I'm mixing in some New England Patriot work. I'm mixing in whoever it could have been. I'm mixing in some of those plays to get my guys' eyes keyed in on what they may seek this coming week. So it's absolutely beneficial. Now you just have to come out and play with your hair on fire, right? You have to take this week and put this week to use and make it worth it.
Daniel, one of the questions I asked midweek was, do you think that Justin Herbert can be a guy that can put the team on his back? And by that, I mean, if everything else goes wrong, the line is not doing their job, they can't run the ball. From an offensive perspective, he can still power this team to a win. I said, I don't think so. I think he needs at least decent protection in order to be victorious.
Yeah, and I think he does. I mean, I think you look back at what lost them the playoff game last year in that 4 interception performance, right? Where it was him just trying to do it all by himself and he didn't have the help and there was no running game and the receivers weren't getting open and the entire offensive line, every starter gave up at least 3 pressures and it was just an unfeasible ask of Justin Herbert to carry him against that defense. That being said, I've kind of seen him do it. Like I saw him do it against the Eagles, right?
Yeah.
I saw him do it against the Kansas City Chiefs. I've seen him do it against this Broncos team that they played today when he had a guy on his back and a guy about to hit him as he hit Keenan Allen for the game-tying touchdown and then led them to the game-winning field goal drive. So I have seen him do it, but whenever you ask him to do it, you roll the dice because you might get the 4 interception game where he's trying to do too much and he's trying to put the entire team on his back and that ends up costing them. So I think for him, it's been trying to find the fine line. And that's what he did so well against the Eagles, against the Chiefs, where he is taking care of the football for the most part pretty well, picking things up when his legs when he has to, and finding time in the pocket to be able to make the passing game look at least okay at times when for most of the season with that offensive line, it hasn't been. So he can do it. But if you're going to have to ask him to do it by yourself, you take the risk of having the game you had last year against the Texans where you do get beat up. So I do think he has what it takes, but you shouldn't be asking him to do that in the playoffs. And because the playoff teams can beat you if it's just Justin Herbert versus everybody.
Yeah.
From a defensive perspective, the defense has been playing very well. We're going to take a break. When we come back, I want to get into that just from this perspective of adjustments. And I've been very impressed with the adjustments that they've made in games and the ability to kind of wake up after problems, whether it's early in the game or a bad quarter. They seem to be able to kind of, splash some cold water on their face and get back in there and shut down the opponent. So we'll talk about how important the defense is to this team, and then how crucial it is that they get off to a fast start because coming back for them has not been great. It's been okay, and they've been able to do it. It's not impossible, but it's not ideal for them. And lastly, as we we got one more break, so another tease that I'm going to hold on to. It's the Locked On Chargers Squad Show on the Locked On Chargers YouTube channel. I was over teasing there. I was like, I can tease this and I'm going to tease this and tease that. Today's episode of the Locked On Chargers Squad Show is brought to you by Drip Drop. Kicking off the year feeling good is the goal, right? And honestly, hydration is the easiest win. When I stay on top of it, my energy, focus, and mood all level up. As a matter of fact, it's funny because that game was kind of a slog. About halfway through the third quarter, I was like, I need a pick me up. So I went and got some hydration in the form of iced tea. So a little bit of caffeine and some hydration as well. Maybe I should add Drip Drop to the focus or to the regimen. But let's be real. Plain water doesn't always cut it, especially when you're grinding through long days, hitting the gym, or just trying to stay consistent with your health goals. That's where Drip Drop comes in. Doctor developed proven fast hydration that helps your body and mind work better. Think clearer focus, better energy, elevated mood, even that fresh skin glow. I need that too. God, this is just the cure-all right here. Drip Drop science-backed formula is trusted by firefighters, medical professionals, and 90% of top college and pro teams because it rehydrates you faster and more effectively than water alone. Right now, Drip Drop is offering podcast listeners 20% off your first order. Go to dripdrop.com and use the code LOCKEDONNFL. That's dripdrop.com, promo code LOCKEDONNFL, and you get 20% off. Stock up now at dripdrop.com and use the code LOCKEDONNFL.
I need some drip drop.
That's good.
I need some drip drop. I'm getting ready to run a marathon. Drip drop. Holla at your boy.
There you go. Sounds like you absolutely.
Oh, I got you, Kenyon. Send me the address. I got you. I got a bunch.
All right, for sure.
It's delicious.
All right, so going into this Patriots game, look, the defense has been fantastic. They have been the backbone of this team, and I'll ask the same question to you, KB, that I asked Daniel about Herbert. Can the defense win this game alone? Like, if the offense is faltering, can the defense just bow their neck and say, I don't think so, and we win this one 13-10 kind of a thing?
Absolutely. We've seen this defense show up and play. I will point out the Kansas City Chiefs game, where this defense came out with a chip on their shoulder, starting off with Tony Jefferson and then catching fire right after that. It was kind of like a California wildfire. Everybody just caught on fire. Khalil Mack, everybody came to play. We've seen what this defense can be when everybody comes to play. We've seen when they come and when they play with purpose, on purpose, and with intent. This defense is absolutely one of the best defenses in the league. So if need be, I firmly believe that this defense can get the job. If the offense was to put up a single touchdown, I believe that this defense could hold the New England Patriots underneath that to get the dub.
We could win it with 4 field goals, right, Daniel? I mean, look,
absolutely.
When you look up and down this defensive lineup, there are just, you talked about it at the start. I want to get a little bit more into it because I think it's a huge factor for the Chargers is that they're just so deep. When you kind of run down all of the names and all of the talent on this team, it's hard to just say, this is the guy that is the straw that stirs the defensive drink for this team, because there are just so many of them. Deion Henley is a guy that is frequently atop the stat sheet when it comes to tackles. Obviously, Derwin James is kind of the captain of the defense, but there are just a lot. Khalil Mack has been fantastic of late. So many guys. It's so deep that that's a great feature for any defense.
And the crazy thing is it still feels like they're better than the sum of their parts. It feels like this coaching staff, Jesse Minter, and a special shout out to Steve Klinkscale, who should absolutely be the defensive coordinator in waiting if anything does happen with Jesse Minter this offseason, have been able to consistently bring in guys and maximize their talent, get them to bounce back from bad seasons the year before, and to continue to get contributions from young players up and down the roster. What this team and this defensive coaching staff has done, I think, is even more impressive than what they were able to do last season. And I think it's a better defense than they had last season. And I want to go back to what you touched on before we got into this, which is just the adjustments that this team has made. Let's look at the 3 games leading up to this. Dallas Cowboys, that was a big one, right? The Dallas Cowboys was where you got to be tested by a great offense and then see what you could do, because that was the one thing last year against the Buccaneers, against the Ravens, against the Bengals. This team gave up a ton of points against good quarterbacks. This year, they got to answer that a little bit, and I think that's been one of the biggest calling cards to why this defense, I think, is better than what it was last season. So I think that is the one good thing the Chargers have going for you is defense travels. Right? You're going to be in the cold and an East Coast game against the New England Patriots, and it's going to be a man-on-man, man-up type of football game in January. And you feel like you have a group that's been tested in those waters and has gone up against other great offenses before and has had success. But leading up to this game, the 3 games prior, they had shut the Kansas City Chiefs out in the second half. They shut out the Dallas Cowboys in the second half. They gave up 6 points last week against the Texans after giving up 14 straight to start the game. And that was because of 2 shanked punts by J.K. Scott that set both of those field goal attempts up. Like, this defense, the adjustments that they've made, and also the ability to do it with whoever's out there has been super impressive, and is why you feel, okay, hey, we have a chance going up against another pretty good offense and what the New England Patriots have done this year.
It's the old saying, Pete. Offense wins games, defense wins championships. And this is the time for this defense to rise up and go ahead and do that. Take the lead and take the charge.
And then look, traveling for the playoffs is not always the worst thing, right? I'm sure you've been a part of that. We hear that the team comes together more on the road than they do at home, and the Chargers' home field advantage is, not
minimal anyways.
Right, exactly, not what other teams have, like in Denver. So going on the road, I think, is a benefit to them.
Yeah, you get to feel that electricity in the atmosphere, right? And for a playoff game as a player, you feed off of that. You feed off the crowd noise. You feed off the excitement that's in the stadium. You feed off the noise. You feed off of all of that. Excuse me, I don't know what's going on in the building.
Y'all good. We can still see you well.
But you feed off of those environments. And for me, I was always a player that I always wanted to go to another team's place because it was more satisfying to go put my feet on your couch and make your house my own. And so when you look at some of these guys that's on this defense, I'm sure a lot of them have that mentality. Like, no, let's go somewhere else and make their place ours. So going on the road can absolutely be a benefit, and it can charge you up because you know you're walking into and playing in a hostile environment.
Daniel, I heard Matt Smith talking about it last week, and he's not the first person to bring it up as far as the Chargers' motivation, appreciating and thriving on the energy of being the underdog. They love that. What's been your read on that through this final stretch of the regular season, even though they lost these last two? Prior to that, they had a nice 4-game winning streak there where everyone was like, there's no way they're going to beat Philly. There's no way they're going to beat Kansas City. And they did.
They absolutely did. And I think, also you have to take into account this team went to Brazil and had all the kind of weird travel stuff they could go through and still found a way to beat a Chiefs team that was basically at full strength at the beginning of the season. So they have been tested in these waters. And I do think there is something to, hey, it is really great when you're out there and you hear your team fans cheering for you after you make a big play. It also feels really nice to make a huge raving, lunatic fan base go completely silent and just take all of the air out of a stadium. Like, it can go both ways. I think the big test for this team is to show that they've exercised those demons going West Coast to East Coast. And it'll be a little different in a playoff setting this week. We'll see if they end up playing on Saturday or Sunday, right, and how that affects things. But earlier in this season, you did have issues, right? Going to Miami, getting off to a slow start there. Going to Tennessee, getting off to a slow start. Going to the Cowboys and defensively getting off to a slow start. So they have to show that, with Jim Harbaugh, they're going to be ready. Hopefully it's not a 10 a.m. start. It'd be nice to get something at least in the afternoon, closer to when they normally play, right? But I do think that will be a test of, hey, you got to show up because you're not going to be able to do what you did against the Texans. Like, you dominated the Texans for most of that game. The problem was you gave up 2 40-plus yard touchdowns to start the game against a great defense, and you put your offensive line in a terrible position where you game script-wise you couldn't stick with it. So there's a lot of things that are going to factor into it, but I don't think that this team is any stranger to having to go on the road and play in raucous environments and have to, win a game that way.
KB, you were there for a minute. One of those 3 shiny rings was as a member of the Patriots. Here's a question for you. What do you think the fan base is feeling like, after going through that massive run with Tom Brady and then falling off the cliff when he left and being garbage for a few years, and now they're back? Yeah. Is there any chance the fan base is kind of not ready for it yet? Like, what? We're good again?
No, weird. Not that New England fan base.
Yeah.
If they were ready for anything, they weren't ready to be bad. I'll tell you that much. You go on a run like the New England Patriots went on, where literally for every season of Tom Brady, you're in the playoffs and you're fighting for a championship. So that fan base is absolute. They're prime prepped and ready for this. This is what they've known. This is who they've been for the past, well, outside of those years once Tom left, but for 18, 19 years straight, whatever it was, this team was conditioned and the fan base was conditioned to be in these big moments come January. So you can bet your bottom dollar that this fan base is going to be on fire, that the stadium is going to be electric, and that they're going to be ready to be right back where they think that they deserve to be.
Yeah, they're definitely they have to be up there as far as one of the most arrogant fan bases with Denver. And who else can you throw into that
Cowboys?
Yeah.
Cowboys fans, right? Exactly.
But with actual success. Yeah.
Yeah, but Pete, you think about the drought that they had, right? And to finally be back top of the AFC, can you imagine what they're feeling? Can you imagine?
What do you mean finally? What do you mean finally, Kenjon? I grew up in San Diego, buddy. I mean, finally, it's only been like 4 years, 5 years since Tom Brady left.
Okay, so can you imagine going 19 years straight of being at the top of the mountain?
No,
and then
I can't. What is that like?
You're right. Not too many of us can, but for this fan base, that's all they knew. So you can bet your butt that the last 4 years have felt like a nightmare.
Yeah.
And now we're back where we belong. We back where we were supposed to be all this time. And so, I know the excitement is real out there.
Yeah, Jeff, who I believe is a Pats fan today, I had flashbacks. So yeah, look, but I think that also plays to the Chargers' hand, that they're playing a Patriots team that doesn't have Tom Brady, that is not, been winning championships and winning the division year after year after year. Yeah, they're a quality organization, but this team is still young. So it's it's a combination of both the experience and the history behind the organization, but this team itself doesn't have any of that stuff. So I'm sure
they do have Josh McDaniels.
Yeah,
he's a hell of a play caller.
He's been
hell
around
of a play caller, hell of a OC. One of my favorite OCs that I played for.
I liked him better as the Raiders coach, to be honest.
Did you?
Well, yeah, because he was terrible as the Raiders head coach. I loved him as the Raiders head coach.
He's a better OC than he is a head coach.
Yeah.
Final break, then we'll come back and talk about special teams as we always do at the very end, and find out how confident Kenjon Barner is in his Oregon Ducks. It is the Locked On Chargers Squad Show on the Locked On Chargers YouTube channel. Today's episode of the Locked On Chargers Squad Show is brought to you by Game Time, one of my favorite apps when it comes to getting tickets. It is the top of so I have all my ticketing apps in one little window, and I always go to Game Time first. I'm not just saying that. It is absolutely the real deal. And, with the NFL season heading towards the playoffs, if you are lucky enough to be in a town that has a playoff game and you want to get out there, by all means, go to Game Time and give it a look, give it a sniff. Don't feel like it's going to be beyond your means, because you'll be frequently surprised as to how many deals you can find on the Game Time app. Now, you might be sitting in the back row way up top in the nosebleeds, but hey, it is better to be in the stadium than not be. The energy that you feel in that stadium during the playoffs is fantastic. And, the other thing that's great about Game Time, there's no frustration with it. You don't have to wait in lines, the logins, and all that other stuff, watching prices change at checkout. With Game Time, what you see for the price is what it is when you go to checkout. They also have zone deals. You pick the section, Game Time picks the seats, and you save even more if you are willing to run the risk right up until like an hour before game time. You can save even more money, and they have views from the seat, which is very helpful when it comes to picking out your seat. You click on the ticket, and it'll show you your perspective of the field, the stage, what have you. So Game Time has it all, including that Game Time guarantee, which gives you real peace of mind. Take the guesswork out of buying NFL tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNFL, LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today and get back to being there live. Chargers fall today, but never you mind. They're moving on to face the New England Patriots as the 7th seed next week in Foxborough, Massachusetts. Hey, good news today. Dicker the kicker made some field goals, got that miss out of his system, and was right back to it. So that was good to see that, he missed 3 field goals all season. Yeah. So it's fantastic. Obviously, the most accurate kicker in the history of the NFL. So he continues to do that, and you want him to be as focused and as locked in as possible. That was good to see today. I enjoyed that, and was just obviously I wasn't surprised. I felt like, he had a miss. He missed an extra point, potentially cost him the game, but he'll be right back at it. And that was what happened today. So other special teams issues today.
J.K. Scott.
or lack of issues, but to it. So J.K. Scott was not impressive. But how did you feel about what we saw from the return game today with Darius Davis?
Darius Davis. First things first, I need KLS to be healthy. I hope that his hamstring, hope it's nothing major. Hated to see that, but I've liked what I've seen from him towards the end of this season. him back there on kickoff return. I love seeing my guy Darius back there at punt return, being able to get back in his rhythm, do his thing, kind of catch a ball, get busy a little bit. I just want to see these guys be confident. You know what I'm saying? Especially at that punt return spot. That is a position where you have to have confidence. Any sort of doubt, any sort of lack within yourself, you just won't have success. Any sort of fear, anything, catching that ball and returning that ball, and understand that the wind will be whipping in New England. So you're really gonna have to be locked in, keyed in on the tip of that ball off the foot. But make some plays. You know, this phase of the game has to come alive. Like he did a few weeks ago with KLS, you know, when they went down and had that he had that game winning touchdown at the end of the game. So I need some confidence. I need some courage. Come alive and help this team win. JK, I need you to punt the ball, baby. I need you to punt the ball where the ball is supposed to go. I don't need no 32-yard punts. I need you to be the field-changing punter that you are. You have the ability to flip the field. And so let's do that. And I'm not worried about Dicker even today. You know, when kickers miss field goals, you may the next game. Okay, is he gonna make it? As soon as he came up, I walked out the room. I wasn't worried about it. So I know Dicker gonna be all right.
Daniel, from a receiving core standpoint, obviously we're going to see Keenan Allen. We're going to see Quentin Johnston. What do you think about Trey Harris and KLS? Are those guys going to get any time in this playoff game?
I mean, Trey Harris will for sure because he's been, you know, part of the offense throughout the season, right? He's kind of carved out his role and has been excellent as a run blocker, and that's really how they've used him in a lot of ways as a lead blocker at times, which is crazy for a rookie wide receiver, especially one that came from Ole Miss in a situation that wasn't asking that much of him to do that. So Trey Harris has been impressive. It would have been great to see that, you know, in the back of the end zone if he was able to come up with that one and end his regular season with a touchdown. Gave it everything he had, full extension, and it almost came down with it. But the KLS part is interesting, though, because he got hurt in this game, and it was on a really impressive rep on a 3rd and 15 plus, beating Pat Surtain, getting some yards after the catch, getting a first down.
Burst.
He came up with another hamstring injury, something that not, you know, just for him, but just for this team has just plagued them, these soft tissue injuries, especially in recent weeks. So that really sucks because he is the guy that gave you your best kick return to Kenjon's point in that game against the Chiefs that really flipped that game before he ended up getting the touchdown right before the half. And so like that one I'd be watching a little bit, but I do think you're going to get a heavy dose of the guys, you know, that you know and have seen all this season. It's going to be a lot of Keenan Allen, Ladd McConkey, Quentin Johnston, and those guys obviously were missed today.
Yeah, I just got to get the ball to Ladd more. Aronde, as you commented, KB, you said he'll be back. He'll be fine. Don't worry. 2 for 2 today, 23 yards, a long of 17. So I have a feeling that he's going to be utilized quite a bit because he's been good, except for a few, you know, sporadic instances like against Houston. He's had some drops, but you know, you got to keep giving him the ball. You got to keep feeding him, and I feel confident that they will. Final thought as we head out of here today and into round 1 of the playoffs, the wild card round. You guys want to take a guess at the spread? I've got it.
Ooh,
not too hard to figure out, but give it a shot. You go first, KB.
3.5.
Daniel?
Yeah, that's what I was going to guess. New England minus 3.5.
Yes, absolutely.
Right. We both nailed it.
Yes,
shout out to our boy. We got FanDuel down. Shout out FanDuel.
Absolutely. And Prize Picks. All right, guys. 19-3 today, but we don't worry about that. We're turning the page and moving on. And I think it's the most you could ask for as a 7 seed, quite honestly. I don't know that I've liked a position for a team as a 7 seed more than I like this one.
There's a lot of parallels, though, Pete, from this Chargers team going into this next matchup and last year's Chargers team going into the Texans, where the Chargers last year beat up on some, you know, really bad teams to get 11 wins, right? They end up going up against a sputtering offense and a good defense in Houston, and that's the matchup they wanted, and they got smacked in the face and couldn't recover, right? Like this Patriots team hasn't dealt with a lot of adversity so far this year, not a lot of close games against some of these teams late in the game. So last year the Chargers had to take their lumps, and usually even great, you know, teams, even dynasties have to kind of take their lumps along the way. You have some tough losses, you have some first round exits before you end up eventually getting to where you want to go. So yeah, I mean, 7 seed, you're in the playoffs no matter what, but I do see some parallels to the 2024 Chargers and the 2025 Patriots.
Oh, hey, we went quite a few weeks without one of these, KB.
Where did that come from? Mark,
He's been on a heater.
What
Mark, what
Give
happened?
my boy a break.
Right, what happened, Mark? Like I'm confused. Where did that come from?
Who knows? You never know. It doesn't matter.
YouTube comments, not for the faint of heart.
Oh, yeah.
I get it all the time.
You're not alone, Mark. You guys should start a fan club. The Pete Fox is an idiot fan club. Now I lost my train of thought. I had one final comment. Oh, well.
That's my fault. My fault.
I'm an idiot. Yeah, that's why I forgot my final thought. All right, guys. We'll talk midweek, KB. And, final thought is Oregon and Indiana.
Oh, yeah?
That to me is the national championship game right there, because the winner of that game is going to take care of either Miami or Ole Miss, no problem. KB, is this the closest you guys have been to a national championship in your time?
No, so we played in the Natty 2010.
Oh, that's right.
Versus Auburn, Cam Newton, and Michael Dyer.
That's right.
Nick
Who's
Fairley
the
and those
quarterback of Oregon?
Cam
Who
Newton.
was it?
Darren Thomas.
That's who it was. Yeah,
Darren Thomas, and then I believe it was 2015. They made it back the first college football national championship versus Ohio State when we were out in Dallas, and Ohio State had their way with them young guys out there. Ezekiel Elliott, I think, ran for 200 some odd yards in that game. Just had an absolute day. So no, we've been close quite a few times. Been there, been to the top of the hill, just haven't been able to claim that title. And to your point, I do believe that this will be the national championship game. I think this game will probably come down to one possession. The keys to this game for Oregon, Indiana is the most disciplined team in the country, in my opinion. You're going to have to out-discipline them, and you're going to have to out-physical them. If you can do those two things, I think Oregon will get the win. You have all the talent in the world. You're going to have to be disciplined, and you're going to have to out-physical them.
Well, they both, ran away and hid in the quarterfinal game. So those games were New Year's Day games were not interesting. So hopefully this one is Oregon and Indiana.
You didn't like the shutout the Ducks put up versus Tech?
I was thinking about you, but I wasn't really paying. It was like out of one eye. This is boring. I don't have a dog in the fight. I don't have a duck in the fight, but other than from your perspective. So anyway, that's going to do it for us today. For Daniel Wade, Kenjon Barner, I am Pete Fox. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Appreciate the comments. Even the one that calls me an idiot. The rest of your weekend. Take care. Have a good one. And we'll talk midweek, probably Wednesday, for our midweek squad show. Take care. Have a good week.